Good morning, everyone. So my name is Richard Bastin. I'm the Chief Technology Officer of Cash Plus Bank, and I wanted to talk to you about what we've been doing in the payments world and also how technology in general can help us going forward, or maybe not. So I'm pressing next, and that hasn't worked. Is there a different clicker? Ah. Okay. All right. So I've gone back too far. So let's just go back. Whoa. Here we go. Right. Okay. So who are Cash Plus Bank? So we are a fully regulated UK bank. Our purpose is enabling a more open and inclusive, successful financial future for our customers. Our key customer base are UK's micro businesses and consumers. And we have over 250,000 customers already, over 500 million of deposits. We have a UK-based contact centre. We're a member of the faster payment system, and on a monthly basis, we process over 2 million of payments, 2 billion in value. We also have credit cards for businesses and consumers. So we're offering a full range of banking products targeted at our customer base. We're profitable and we're growing. So what was our challenge? Our first challenge was instant payment processing. So it's what our customers expect. We did previously have a payment system with an agency banking arrangement, and payments were processed through that in 10 to 15 minutes. That wasn't fast enough for our customers. They wanted payments to go through in seconds, right? That's what we're used to. And that's what they demanded from us. So we needed to join the faster payment scheme. And for those of you who have never done that, it's not a simple process. So it's regulated, managed by Pay UK. They give you slots and windows that you need to deliver the solution by for testing and attestation. And it's a real challenge for technology people who are now used to working in an agile way. If you don't get it done in this sprint, get it done in the next sprint. Well, the next sprint is the next window 3 months after. So sorry about that, guys. You need to deliver on time. So that created a few challenges and a different way of working, but we overcome that. The second challenge, capable of handling peak transactional volumes. So our customers don't all make payments at an even rate throughout the whole day, obviously, right? And we see peaks on a Friday, especially the last Friday of the month, when our customers are getting paid or they're making payments to suppliers, getting that end of month deadline, and the system needed to scale to handle all of that. And of course, it needed to be compliant. It needed to meet all the regulations, the anti-money laundering regulations. It needed to be able to prevent fraud. And there's a whole host of data required to make that happen. So sanctions lists, PEPs, fraud lists, third-party data sets, historical data for payments, all designed to keep our customers' data safe and secure and ensure it's going to the right people. Okay? So how do we do this? So we needed to build an engine to help make these decisions for us. Okay? To help get them. This keeps cutting out, obviously. So we needed to get an engine that would handle all of those rules for us and deliver those outcomes for our customers. Okay. So we came up with this decision engine, which is a system that is resilient and scales, and it swiftly identifies fraudulent or transactions that should be stopped. Now, some of those could be legitimate, and we have to engage with our customers to understand, is this a transaction they require? Okay? But the most important thing is protecting their money, keeping it safe. So the solution that we designed takes in data from a whole range of areas. And this is another microphone is coming. I'm going to seamlessly change with Georgina. Thank you so much. So we're pulling in data sets from everywhere. Everywhere we can get data, we're sucking it in. Data is the new oil. It's what we need to be able to understand our customers, keep their money safe, grow the bank. But we also need to process that data in milliseconds because our customers expect that. Our customers expect the payments to go through in seconds. So the technology underpinning all this needs to be really scalable. It needs to be really flexible. And I've put some of the tech stack down there. We're using a lot of open source technologies, widely used out in the industry, also used by big tech. And that really gives us that capability to deliver that service to our customers. And our data science teams integrate with that. They build these models that predict when things are not going to be successful, should be stopped. And all of this must be processed in milliseconds, which is not easy, but it's achievable. And it's something that we're very proud of. I will now pass over to Valentyn, who hopefully his microphone's a little bit better.
Thank you, Richard. Hi, everyone. Oh, I need this one as well. So let's wait for my slides. My slides are faster than everyone else. That's good. I'm a technological geek from Ukraine, but live for the last 7 years in Texas. And I added a couple. The reason I'm telling it to you is I added a couple of jokes in my slides just to make it a little bit more engaging. And if the jokes will not be funny to you, at least you know why. But let's go on. That was the first joke. Thank you. So before we even start, decision engines is a pretty complex topic, and I just want to give you my own example of decision engine. And we make decisions every day, like hundreds, thousands of decisions. And my colleague Richard told you that the customer of the bank expected the quick reactions on the transactions, quick processing time. And I have several of my own personal, super important customers who expect even faster decision from me in a very specific case when they ask me or my wife to buy them a new toy. This is my kids. And pretty much the same way how decision engine for the bank works. I get a lot of data on input. I have my algorithm, how I make decision, and I make a decision, and then I deal with consequences, pretty much like in a bank. Hopefully you will understand this knowledge better than more complex stuff. But the most important thing is every time this happens, I'm kind of think that I'm an expert in it because I've been in this situation like 100 times. I know exactly what they will say. I know exactly how my mind works, how I make decisions. But then all of a sudden, every new situation is different. And but the good news, the good thing is that I learned from every occasion like this. And today I will share some of the lessons we learned from developing the decision engine for the bank. And we will start from the first one. Is pretty obvious. Talk to your users and your customers. And that's how you get the requirements for the system. That's how you validate if you succeed or fail. But also the important thing when you look into your customers and users is to look into the broader picture, broader groups of people. Not just the direct users, direct customers, but people who might potentially be involved or even impacted in good and bad way. And good example is, for instance, we get most of the requirements for decision engine from the teams who will be mostly responsible for that, for instance, financial monitoring teams or security teams. But the good way to approach requirements for the system is to ask a question. Okay, what will happen in the edge case scenario? What will happen if decision engine will suddenly start declining every single transaction? For some reason, bad data, bad algorithm, some glitch, who will be most impacted? And probably call center will not be happy from the increased number of calls, and you will need to explain to every customer why it happens. So when you create decision engine, you better create the way how to let the customer support team or call center people to troubleshoot it, investigate it, and give exactly the information to the customer why the transaction was failed and how to fix it, how to make sure it works next time. And then the other question, okay, what if on the opposite side of the spectrum, what if the decision engine works perfectly and work fast? Who will be the group of people inside the company who will benefit the most? And potentially it could be the marketing team, because now all of a sudden you can promote it as one of the big advantage of the bank is that our processing is faster than anyone else. That's a great message. So this type of approach of asking questions, what will happen in different situations, will lead you towards some of the very important requirements for a system. For instance, okay, how fast it should be, and so on. So the second lesson is the system should be scalable, because like Richard mentioned, the load go up and down, and your system needs to be ready for that. Because obviously, if the system is overloaded, you are not able to process transaction. Customer will find another way how to make transactions, use another account, and you lose customers. But on opposite side, if you create a gigantic system and it sits idle, guess what? You're just wasting the money on the resources which are not used. So the ideal decision engine should have exactly amount of resources, compute resources, infrastructure, which needs to be, which is enough at this moment for the amount of transactions you get at this moment. And it should scale up and down efficiently. And there are a couple of big examples when transaction amount can jump tremendously. One of them, we took it from the from London, is the Transport for London, when they switched from the, they didn't switch from the Oyster cards, but they introduced the ability to pay with the Google Pay or Apple Pay or credit card, wireless technology. That's a great technology, makes life so easier, but then all of a sudden they had a huge increase in number of credit card transactions. And if your decision engine is not ready for this, I don't know, a couple times jump, then guess what? The system will not work, and the people will be waiting on the entrance to the station, which is not appropriate at all. So the system should scale up quickly and easily. And very important thing is that the cost associated with the scaling up and down should also ideally scale linearly. So, because if you increase the capacity of the system twice, you should probably expect to spend twice, maybe less than twice amount of money on the infrastructure. Because if you spend 10 times more to double the capacity of the system, that's not sustainable, that's not scalable. And at some point, guess what? Your customer will feel the pain because you will have to increase the fees for them for the transaction processing as well, which is not good. So the lesson number 2 is make sure that system is scalable up and up easily, quickly, and cost efficiently. Very simple. Clouds, by the way, private or public, will help a lot with this. Lesson number 3 is the algorithm, the machine learning algorithm, the data science work is pretty expensive, and this algorithm is pretty efficient. They can work with all type of data, even unstructured data. But in order to make it super efficiently, the algorithm works as good as the data you provide there. So if you provide the algorithm, machine learning algorithm with the unstructured data, with a lot of ambiguity, then the cost of processing will be much higher and the accuracy will be much smaller. So preparing the data in advance, not during the calculation, not during the processing, but way in advance is super important. And I'll just give an example. One of the biggest problem in decision engine algorithm is to uniquely identify the data. That I'm a customer and all of the data the algorithm is using to process my transaction relates to me. And it's a little bit hard to uniquely identify my data if for some reason my name is James Smith. Because there are more than 38,000 people with this name in the UK. And by the way, this is the most popular combination of first and second name in the UK. The idea here is that when algorithms start processing the transactions for the James Smith, the algorithm need to get all of the data related to that. And you need to be super sure that that's the data which relates to them, not to some other James Smith, which is a completely different person. And in order to do that, preparing data before, in advance, uniquely identifying the people, for instance, using the unique taxpayer reference or SSN in the US, is the way how you do that. But you have to do it like before the machine learning algorithm steps in. And there is a very simple way how to demonstrate the cost difference. The preparing of data, it's a little bit technical term, but preparing data happens on the CPU mostly, which is several times cheaper than processing unprepared, unstructured data on the GPUs, which are much more complex. So it's also not only faster to prepare data in advance, but it's also cost-efficient way to do that. So the lesson number 3, prepare your data, make sure it's clear, make sure it's uniquely identified, and make sure to do it in advance, not during the peak hours. The last but not least lesson is the creating of decision engine is a pretty big system which impacts a lot of areas and a lot of departments, a lot of people in a bank and in a financial company. And it's a great occasion to look into the processes and kind of do validation of the processes you have. You look at each stage of the process and you decide, okay, do I really need this process or sub-process at all? And that's important because there are sometimes you look into the requirements and you see some of the processes which are outdated, not needed anymore. And the Brexit is a good example. There are some part of the algorithm which included some of the legislation from the European Union which are not required anymore. So the creation of or recreation or modernization of decision engine is a good way to just eliminate the processes which are not needed anymore. That's a very simple way of dealing with that. No problem, no process. But if you cannot avoid it, if you cannot eliminate the process, you have to automate it as much as possible. And one of the example is uniquely identifying the James Smith is one of the way how you automate the process. You do not ask some person to do it, you just do it automatically if possible. And only if you cannot eliminate the process, if you cannot automate it, and you have to do it manually, make sure you do it in a way which consumes the minimum amount of time and leaves the minimum room for the error, for the human error. And one of the examples, which is super popular, is the mobile phone SMS or text message validation. Very often on mobile phone, you get the validation message, and then you get the standard keyboard with the letters, not with the numbers. It's very simple fix, very simple solution, which improves the speed and improves the experience of the people. We had an example when one of the mobile application we created, it had input fields, and we added the login, and we figured out that out of 3 attempts, person missed two first times. They missed the input field, and only on the third time they just hit it. So that's very easy fix. You just make the field bigger, and you decrease it from 3 to 1.5. That's already a big improvement. So make sure that any manual process as smooth as possible, if you can. And with this being said, I'm passing back to Richard just to share some of the outcomes and what's the future of the decision engine. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Valentyn. So look, where Valentyn said, Valentyn and I were talking the other day, and we said, okay, so what's next, right? So is AI the future, okay? And how does that affect payments? And how does that affect decisions around whether those payments should be processed or not? So look, we already use machine learning. I've always called that, I've also called that human copying, right? Because you take those data sets and you look at what humans are doing and you say, how can I get the machine to do it as well as the humans? Okay? AI is taking that to another step and another level. And I thought I'd just put this slide in. I know it's not strictly payments related, but you know, just looking at AI, and as a technologist, where is this? Where does this stand in all of the technologies that we've seen over our lifetimes and before? I mean, I know, having daughters who are students and talking to their friends, they're already using AI. They're already using it to help them in their courses and their studies. And that's creating a headache for tutors, right? How can they detect the real work from the work of the machine? Okay? You always got to rely on students to try anything, okay? So what do we do back? Well, if you look back over time, what are the key changes that have happened that have really revolutionized the workplace? You know, if you think back to when, if you're old enough to remember when the PC came about, if you didn't have a PC on your desk, you wanted one. You wanted one to help you be more productive, right? And then the internet came along and it let us work from home and access other services from home without having to leave our house. I mean, how could we have managed COVID without the internet? The smartphone let us do it on the move. There are some people who say AI is the next big thing. It may even be the 4th industrial revolution. We'll find out. It's exciting. But I think one thing I want to leave you with, and this isn't my quote, someone else said it. I don't think AI will replace us right now, but I think people who use AI will. So with that thought, Has anyone got any questions? And Valentyn, do you want to join me for any quick questions? Any questions at all? Yeah. Great.
Oh, we have a gentleman here.
Hi. Thank you. Well, basically, machine learning requires to train the algorithm before you post it to production. Let's say you are going to go into some new, I don't know, payment area or payment scenario. You don't have data about it. So how do you have any strategy, any ways to approach that?
So when you say there's no data, I think typically there would be
in the bank, I mean.
In the bank. So look, as a bank, we get data from external sources. So you've got credit reference agencies that provide us with data, and there's a whole range of those. There's publicly available sources of data as well, you know, the sanctions list and all those things. There is a certain amount of data that you can start with, and then our data scientists, they have a sandbox that they take that data and they build their models and they iterate constantly to find models that have a higher degree of predictability. Okay? Now, we're a bank, we're fully regulated, so we need to make sure that those models are properly governed, and we have a whole process behind there that ensures that they deliver good customer outcomes, because we're the customers of banks, right? We want to make sure that our payments are processed properly and that we're getting the right service from our banks. So that human element is absolutely essential to ensure that the technology does the right thing. But there is a certain amount of letting it go and seeing what happens, and then you monitor it and you make sure that it's doing the right thing. And if we compare that to real life, we have colleagues working in our firms for us, doing things, and they're not being monitored all day, every day. We trust those people to do the right thing. We're getting to the point now with this technology where we need to, well, we are trusting the technology to do the right thing, but in the same way that people have managers and appraisals and objectives and lists of things you can and can't do, the machines need to have those rules as well, and those rules are run by people. Certainly at the moment, anyway.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
Hello, a quick question. You mentioned about ChatGPT. So, assuming the ChatGPT will be a proven technology period like a few years ago, will it somehow change the solution you had with, let's say, decision engine that you implemented?
Yeah, so I think, look, it's really important to be aware of what the technologies are and how they can help and how they can handle the use cases. Not every technology is suitable for every situation. So I think, you know, you have a watching brief on these things. You need to see what's coming along, and then you need to experiment. And you need to experiment in a way that is safe to do so. And it's only when you get to the point where you are confident enough that you can try these things out, and then you put the guardrails around them. You know, you wouldn't, for example, just switch on a new chatbot for your entire customer base just like that. You'd say, right, let's just send 1% of customers to this. And then you'd compare how that 1% performed to the other 99%. Did the customers like the outcome? Was it a better outcome? If it was better, then use it more. Okay? Great. My mic's given up, so... Oh, my.
Hi there. Just wondering what the biggest factors in deciding to build your own solution rather than partner with or buy in a third-party solution for your algorithms?
So we did both. So Nix, as you probably gathered, is our partner on this. We've been working very closely with them, but we also have an in-house team of data scientists and technologists, and it's a collaboration, right? And it's a collaboration to do something that actually we all need, which is that payments are being processed securely, they're going to the right people, and fraudsters aren't taking the money off us. So it's a bit of both. Okay. Great. Anything else? Thanks very much for your time. Thank you.